Episode of Your Business with Accent Nominees. Today we'll be talking about managing business compliance, and we have a very special guest with us who has a wealth of experience in compliance for businesses. Today we have on the show Mrs. Olajide Akinleye Martins. Mrs. Olajide, do you want to say hello to our viewers?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so Mrs. Olajide has a wealth of experience. Like I mentioned, she is a member of the Chartered Institute of Accountants, Institute of Banking, and Institute of Taxation. She also has an LLM in International Commercial Law. So you see that she is, very worthy to be addressing us on managing compliance for businesses. So today, Mrs. Olajide will be asking you, what are the compliance obligations of business owners?
Okay, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers at home. When you talk of compliance for businesses, is actually relative from business to business. You cannot say the compliance for company A will be the same compliance for company B. Because businesses are in different sectors of the industry, but there are some different stages. Yes, someone wrote somewhere, and I read it, and I actually thought of it. Yes, it actually makes sense. And compliance grows with the business. So your level of compliance as a small business will differ from your level of compliance as a big business. As you grow. However, there are certain basics. First you register. Now talking of Nigeria, you register with the Corporate Affairs Commission, which is sacrosanct. Everybody knows that. But you don't go to bed after registering. You make sure that, okay, your tax filing is key. So normally when you register with the Corporate Affairs Commission, every good lawyer that helps to register, if it's a lawyer that registered or a chartered accountant that helped you with the registry, they make sure that they also get the tax identification number for such a company. Register with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and they get something like a TIN. They call it TIN.
Yeah.
So, that will ensure that you are able to file your tax returns regularly. Yes, the way the law works, ideally, you can file for tax clearance for 3 years, in the event that you've not made any profit. But at least you have to make sure that you are filing.
Filing, yes.
Regularly.
So that means you don't necessarily have to pay tax, but just file.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think that's where the issue is. A lot of people feel they need to pay money. And the truth of the matter is, business owners or companies, especially those just starting up, they have an issue with bringing out the money to pay. So when you say, oh, you have to pay your tax, I don't have money.
We have not made any profit. Yes.
But the fact that you have not made any profit is even a return to make.
Yes.
You have to disclose.
So you are not exonerated from filing because you have not made any profit.
So there's something the law calls, and which in practice too is applicable. You can file for your tax clearance certificate. And at times, in certain businesses, you can get a new clearance, new tax payment for 3 years.
Wow, okay.
So, for the first 3 years of the business, you're not paying any, because it's just to be able to encourage. Like, okay, yes, this company is still growing. You give it time to make profit.
Like an incentive.
As an incentive. Okay. And yes, there are some companies too that under the tax law have incentives, like pioneer status. So maybe a greenfield company. When I say greenfield, now maybe a company that produces something that is very new, novel item, maybe something that has not been produced before, and the government wants to encourage the growth of such a company. For the first 5 years, they won't pay taxes. That does not preclude them from filing.
Okay.
They just have to disclose, yes, we've been given pioneer status. Of course, some companies apply for the pioneer status as well. So tax is very important. Secondly, you have to make sure that your obligation to the Corporate Affairs Commission
is met regularly. After registering your company, the Corporate Affairs Commission requires companies to file annual returns. What is this annual returns? Annual returns is basically filing your audited financial statement with the Corporate Affairs Commission and saying, this year, this is what we've done. We made profit, we made loss. It's not CAC's business. When I say CAC now, the Corporate Affairs Commission. So, it's not their business whether you made a profit or a loss. Their major business to make sure that, okay, your returns are being filed. They want to see the state of health
of the company.
Of your company. Because the Corporate Affairs Commission is a base where every investor for Nigeria, if you want to invest in a business, you go to the Corporate Affairs Commission. Is it like the company house to do a due diligence? So it's like the laboratory for companies. Can you diagnose for me what is wrong with this company? I want to put my money in.
Is it healthy enough?
Is it healthy enough?
Is it going to be a profitable investment?
Exactly. Is it going to be a going concern? Is it still a going concern? Is it going to continue to be a going concern?
Yes.
Or is at the edge of bankruptcy? So all these things are found out at the Corporate Affairs Commission. So the Corporate Affairs Commission requires companies to file annual returns. Yes, there are times when you first start off your business, you could have moratorium period for like 18 months. The Company Allied Matters Act, allows for that, okay, you don't file until after 18 months. However, that does not mean you should leave your financial compliance, even within the 18 months. Get an accountant, get an auditor to help you monitor the financials of the business. Make sure that you are complying with that. It's not always very expensive to get auditors. As a small business, you don't need to go and hire the big four, to be your auditing firm. No. You can get a family or friend as an accountant, an auditor. Pay small fee. They grow with you.
Yes.
I've seen businesses that the lawyers that started with them, even initially, they were not, their lawyer wasn't even collecting money. Because the lawyer just saw, okay, I want to grow with this business. I want to encourage this business. Now, today, the businesses are now big. Then they can pay big retainers, to the lawyers. Yes. So, but you can't say, okay, because, lawyers collect money, then I'm not going to hire any lawyer. If you don't hire lawyers as your consultants, if you don't get a law firm to guide you in legal compliances, you make mistakes.
Several expensive mistakes.
Exactly. So, it's very, very key to make sure that a company appoints auditors, the taxes are properly filed. Corporate governance issues is very important for any company, especially for limited liability companies. So when we say corporate governance, making sure that yes, everything the directors are doing, complying properly, you're making sure that everything within your business, you are complying with the corporate ethics. Now in recent times now, a little bit before the COVID-19, and now after COVID, it has really now, become very, even internationally, the ESG imperatives, which is the environmental, social, and governance imperatives that is required of every business, even banks now in Nigeria. They have to, when they see your annual report, how are you complying with ESG issues? So how are you responsible as a business to your environment? What are your corporate social responsibilities that you are doing for the locality where you are operating? Are you an oil and gas business, for instance? Are you flushing diesel into the gutters?
Water streams and all
that.
Yes.
So these are compliance issues, that are very key. And if caught, the business will pay daily.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that you comply with the corporate governance issues. Also, like I mentioned earlier, businesses differ. The sectors of business, let's say hospitality, for instance, is different from medicals. And there are regulators that regulate different sectors. So you have to understand your business. Thank God this program is your business, right? And there's a need for business owners to even understand their business. But unfortunately, I feel a lot of business owners don't even understand the business they're going into. Yes, they do feasibility study maybe on the face of it, but they don't even understand what are the regulators in that business. So take for instance a transport business. There are regulators in the industry. You might have to get permits, licenses. If you don't, then you'll be breaching, the regulators' code of.
And once caught, it's going
to be a serious issue. And the truth of the matter is, in most businesses, even not only Percless Nigeria alone, in most jurisdictions, most of the time, the punishments are pecuniary, in the sense that you have to pay financial damage. You still have to pay, even if they suspend license, you still have to pay something. So why take yourself through that stress?
Just do it the right way.
And that's why, some businesses have been wise enough to employ consultants who guide them through, things. So I think as we go on, I also want to explain, or can I just?
Yes, please.
Okay. If you're a foreign company, for instance, Nigeria, a foreign business meaning you have a subsidiary company in Nigeria, or you're a foreigner establishing in Nigeria. There are also compliance issues, apart from registering with the Corporate Affairs Commission. You have to make sure you are registered with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, which monitors investments in Nigeria. So if the company just says, oh, yes, we've registered with Corporate Affairs Commission, then that's it, we're home and dry. No. What about NIPC? Because these are certificates that are going to be issued to you, the licenses, that even maybe you want to bid for certain contracts, they will ask for these things. A foreign business who is operating in Nigeria, who has registered as a local company, also has to make sure that he obtains business permit from the Federal Ministry of Interior. And that's very key, because the business permit, in fact, most of the time, with the way they run that business permit, in practice, is a document just like a page, long page, it could be front, but most of the time it's just like one page, like a certificate that they give you, the permit from the Ministry of Interior. Of course, they must have also done their several due diligence before they issue. And at times you want to submit things in the bank, you want to bid for contracts, you want to get certain loans. If you don't have such, you won't even be qualified. Yes. So those permits are important. A foreign business, for instance, who has set up in Nigeria, requires the expatriate quota approvals. The Federal Ministry of Interior also gives this, because the Ministry of Interior actually apparently regulates immigration. So all these foreign businesses, there's a link, with the Federal Ministry of Interior. So when you want to bring expatriate quota approvals, you want to bring in people to come and work from outside Nigeria, you have to make sure that the government issues quota positions for you. So there's something they call quotas. There are positions that you are saying, this skill set I want to bring in is not obtainable in Nigeria. So let's say, for instance, you want to bring in a printing design technologist, for instance. And in the whole of Nigeria, you feel there's nobody that can be a print, but there's an expatriate. Like when you say expatriate, a foreigner who lives outside Nigeria, who is resident outside Nigeria, and is not a Nigerian citizen, but can come and work in Nigeria and do the work for your company. So these quotas are required to bring in such people from outside the country to make sure that they are able to work. Also, apart from the quota approvals, you have to make sure you get resident permits for the foreign employees that are working for such companies. So you see, there are so many compliance issues. And so it's very important for every business owner, every company, to be aware, And I think the big companies, most of the time, they are more aware than the smaller ones.
Because they have a lot to lose.
Yes, they have a lot to lose than the smaller ones. Yes.
But even aside from having a lot to lose, that's for the big companies. The small companies too, I believe that they too have a lot to lose from not complying with certain compliances required of them. So we see a lot of business owners, that is most especially the small ones, they evade their compliances and they believe it's okay to do that. So of course, except it now comes back to bite them, they don't want to comply with it. But how, like, what, I don't know, maybe you can say something that would make them see reason as to why they need to comply. Say for instance, speaking about taxation now, many of them don't want to pay taxes. They say, oh, there's no money, I've not made money and all that. But why should you comply? Why should you file your tax returns?
Okay, thank you very much. I think taxes is a big issue, for businesses, and there is a devil you cannot avoid, especially when you're operating in
compulsory evil.
It's a compulsory evil, Yes, the law in taxation gives you certain leeways, technically, to avoid paying certain taxes. So they say, okay, they give allowable expenses, maybe director expenses, maybe this one that you can, remove from your assessable profit or remove from your turnover, to make sure that you reduce the amount of tax you remit. Or not necessarily underpaying, but making sure that, at least to an extent, you're not overpaying, you're not underpaying, but you're just paying the normal things. And these are definitely things that business owners have to be aware of. However, evading tax, not paying tax, is a criminal offense. It is criminal. And when we say it's criminal, under the law, the government can take such a business owner to court, and the person will pay through his nose. We've seen I'm using Nigeria now for instance, even in certain jurisdictions outside in the United States, you can't even afford not to
pay your tax.
Even as individuals, it is that bad. That at times I've seen people even want to give up their citizenship in America because of tax. Because they have businesses worldwide. And in the US, they take it so seriously that every business you have, even outside America, you have to rent that. You have to disclose. Okay. And by the time you disclose, you have to disclose how much you are earning from such businesses. If you have a particular amount, over $10,000, in an offshore account, you disclose it as a business owner. So it shows you how seriously they take the issues of disclosures for business people or even for individuals. So evading tax is a no-no. Yes, you can avoid tax a little, maybe not paying up to what you should pay. But also, even underpaying tax could also come to bite. Because even in reality, we've seen instances where it's not as if the company wasn't remitting tax. They were remitting. But one day you just see Federal Inland Revenue Service write to you and say, and you have 30 employees, you're supposed to be remitting. And they bring billions of naira. There are companies like that in fact, even tax consultancy is an area on its own. For companies to ensure they have a proper tax consultant who makes sure that they go from time to time to the regulatory agency, the tax authorities, to make sure that the tax returns of their client is proper. Because if that's not done, 10 years down the line, they can bring taxes of 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, I've seen that in practice. And now the companies are now having to negotiate with the tax authorities. Okay, they give them 5 billion, they say, no, we can't pay 5 billion. Okay, let's pay, and it can be very messy.
Yes, and so, that's like a lump sum when you could have just paid.
When you could have just paid
at the appropriate time.
But don't forget, it's not even as if the company was not paying. They will say they were underpaying. So you have to make sure that you remit things properly. We have mentioned earlier, it's not the first day you start the business, you start paying tax. No. For the first 3 years, you might not even make profit. You file new tax returns. But as you fill the form, you submit.
Yes.
You get your tax clearance certificate for 3 years. If you're in a greenfield area, maybe a novel area, you're developing something nobody has ever developed, you can apply for pioneer status. If the government feels that, yes, this is the industry they want to encourage in the economy, they give you like 5 years, pioneer incentive, you're not paying any tax. But yet that does not prevent you from filing. So people should not, business owners rather, should not misunderstand filing with paying. But because I think that's the issue most of the time. You know, people feel, oh, the moment they say file, I have to pay. No. You must file. There are forms you have to fill. And I think now a lot of things could be done online now with Federal Land Revenue Service as well. So you make sure that go online, read the books, read things, go to the website of the Federal Land Revenue Service, the tax authorities, read on them, go to their office. They have flyers, even at their offices, even for laymen to just read through. So at least you equip yourself with the knowledge of what's going on.
Yes. Okay, so I hope we have gathered a lot, of knowledge from all that Mrs. Olajide has told us or spoken to us about today. Okay, so I would also want to know now, for some compliances for big businesses, it's not the same with small businesses. So what's the disparity between both? Do we have like some specific compliances for big businesses and specific ones for small businesses?
Okay, I would not say there are disparities, the same compliance still applies. It's just that the level of compliance, maybe if you have to, the amount of tax you pay when you start a business or when you are now making profits may differ from what a big, establishment would pay. Maybe based on the number of employees they have and all that. But yet you still have to pay tax. So it's not an issue of compliances differing. The only thing is when it comes to appointing auditors. Let's say, in business entities, we have different business entities. For instance, in Nigeria, you have the business name, the sole proprietor who can register as a business name. You have private limited liability company, public liability company. So, for instance, somebody who registers as a sole proprietor, Mr. Wale and Co. And he's the only one managing his business. The law does not mandate him to even appoint an auditor. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, but he's appointing an auditor for the.
You don't need an auditor.
You need an auditor for the wealth of your business, but you don't need to. It's not a compliance issue with Corporate Affairs Commission that you have to file who are your auditors that you have to start filling in. It's different from a limited liability company. A limited liability company, the moment you're a company, you must file at CAC your company secretary. Do you understand?
Yes.
A sole proprietor is not mandated by Corporate Affairs Commission to file company secretary name. No. Okay. So those are, you see where the compliance at times when it comes to business. Because the moment you are a company and you say you are limited by shares, whether private or public, things like your auditors, your company secretaries, they must be in the public domain. Because those, in fact, the names will even be on the annual report. So every annual report has the names of the lawyers, the law firm, legal advisors, the company secretary, the auditors. Because even your legal advisors, your company secretary, your legal advisor, everything, CAC wants to know. So if there's a situation with the company, eventually, let's say the company eventually is going bankrupt, they want to know who are the people even advising this company. Do you understand? Yes. So that would be a rationale for even wanting companies to file these things with the CAC. So a sole proprietor, for instance, who just registered a business name, is still operating a business. He can appoint a secretary, like get one BSc holder to do administrative duties, yes. No problem. But yet, Corporate Affairs Commission does not mandate the business owner to file, okay, so tell me who are your company secretary. No. So it's different from a big company or a company that as long as it's limited by shares, regardless of whether they are big or small, as long as you are operating as a company, whether private or public, you have obligations. So, in terms of who your auditors are, who your company secretary is, who your legal advisors are. So those compliance areas differs, when it comes to sole proprietorship.
Okay. Yes, so you mentioned earlier that CAC is like the or the laboratory where investors, go and check as whether or not your company is healthy. So we have, some businesses that are just growing, and so maybe they've not gotten to that stage of investment, so they don't see compliance as any issue. But maybe you can expatiate on how compliance even affects people investing in your business, how it can turn off investors or even attract investors for your business. So if you can just expatiate on that so that our viewers understand the importance of compliance.
Okay, thank you. In business and in anything you're doing in life, consistency is very crucial. And when you have a business, you have to ensure that your legal obligations to the regulators, complying with the relevant legislations, will always have a hold one way or the other. So for a business that's just starting up, at times people start up, they never think they will need an investor. At the initial stage, just okay, it's just a shoe business I'm doing. Do you understand? I have passion. I like making shoes. Now we see a lot of people opening business name. They are shoemakers.
Yeah.
These days now, people don't even go to maybe Clarks to go and buy shoes again. There are a lot of people that make shoes. Eventually, let's take for instance, a guy that makes shoes very well just opens a business name, Wallex Nigeria Limited. It is a business name, just a Wallex Enterprises, for instance. Wallex never thought he would need an investor. He just started his business. And that is why you don't despise days of little beginning, because you may not know how that business will turn out. And when I said consistency, what I meant was the moment, take for instance, this guy that makes shoes is very good in what he does. He kept at it, One day, he would want his business to grow.
Yeah, he would want expansion.
Expansion. Now your expansion requires capital. You made a shoe for someone. I'm like, I like this shoe. Sir, yes, but I still need certain machines. I can put in 20 million. That is an investor.
Yes.
But the investor now looks, let me see your books. Wallex does not have
any books.
He's not even taking record. So even the financial compliance for his own little business, he's not doing.
He's not doing it.
Then he makes the angel investor, for instance, or the person who wants to invest, he makes the person skeptical. Okay, have you been filing your statement of affairs? Because even as a business name, you're supposed to file statement of affairs. It's just your profit and loss, maybe consolidated profit and loss for the year. Okay, what's your turnover? Just something simple. You make profit, you don't make profit. It's not CSC's business. The only thing is, yes, you have to pay the fees for filing anyway. They won't say because you don't make profit, you will not pay filing fees. Do you understand? However, you are filing. So take for instance, the guy that is just a shoemaker, he just owns a shoe business. He's forward looking. He never knows who will eventually invest. He never even thought, but he kept at it. He made sure he kept recording his books. He got a family friend or a friend, maybe that they went to school together, who read accounting. Please, once in a while, come and help me. Go through this. Let me file this thing. Okay, I'll give you 15,000 naira. Let me do my statement of affairs. And he kept filing. Then one day, somebody saw the good work he's doing. Don't forget he's been consistent.
Yes.
Then somebody now saw the good work he's doing. He said, these shoes are nice. I want to expand. How did companies like Clark started? If you go and read the history, they just started like normal business, small businesses. They didn't start big. Anything that starts big is a grave, from what I've heard several. So, businesses are small. But with the smallness, be consistent.
Yes.
Make sure you are in compliance. At times, advice is not so expensive. Even online now, Google seems to answer a lot of questions for people. You just ask Google. In fact, I saw one of my little, my friend's daughter the other day. He was asking, Alexis, what is this? I said, ask Alexis, what is the law of contract? Alexis answered. Just speaking to an iPad. So you can, the point is, there's a wealth of knowledge everywhere.
Yes.
You don't need to even go and study law now to
Yes,
even
so you
read
should not be
on the
ignorant.
law. You should not be ignorant. So your compliance, don't say, yes, I'm still small. There's nothing I know. It doesn't matter. You know a lot. You have to tell yourself, yes, I know a lot. I can do so much.
Yeah.
This business is not going to stay here. Because the essence of business is to expand. Do you understand?
Yes.
And it's supposed to be transgenerational.
Yes.
So, but for you to build a transgenerational business, you have to also make sure that you are consistent in your compliance. So, it's very key to start making sure that your compliance level, even if it is one area compliance level,
Yes.
make sure you do. You know.
Yes, and me, I would even like to think that compliance is cultivating a good habit for your business. Because imagine if you have been consistently compliant with, every compliance that you ought to do, and then when the investor comes around, you can just seamlessly flow into the next phase of your business, as opposed to when you have not been compliant. You have to start tipping tables and doing a lot of things that would even cost you more than if you have been compliant from the start. So it's been a very beautiful session with you, Mrs. Olajide. Thank you so much for having us. I don't know if you have any other things to say to our viewers out there.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody at a large extent have been impacted. And I just want to say that there are external and internal obligations, that are required for every business. So you have the external ones to regulatory bodies, as we mentioned. There are also your internal obligations to your business as a business owner, and you have to make sure that you comply with these things. And I'd like to say, businesses should not be afraid to hire consultants. Don't be afraid to get a lawyer's advice. Don't be deterred by the money. Don't let money chase you. Money is meant to bow.
Yes.
To us, we're not supposed to bow to
and
money.
Then when money is chasing you, eventually what you don't want to pay for, you pay double for it.
So you need to make sure that you save that naira with the proper advice. Like somebody said, if you don't save money, money will save you. If you save money, money will save you, or something like this. Is a Chinese proverb. But get the right advice. It is very important, and it has saved a lot of businesses, from bankruptcy. Get the right advice. Get the right tax advice. Get the right legal advice. Get the right financial advice. So, there are different levels of advice. There's no one size fits all, but get the right advice peculiar to your business. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Till next time, remain your business with Accent Nominees.